Welcome back, friends. Before we plunge into today's chapter, share your takeaways and boldest thoughts in the comments. Tell us the moment that hit hardest and what you'd do differently. Tap like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell, then settle in. The next twist arrives in 3, 2. The storm broke without warning, the way it often does along the Massachusetts coast in late autumn. The sky, a bruised pewter just hours before, ripped open, loosing a blinding curtain of rain that hammered the corrugated roof of Blake and Son's garage. Inside, Nora Blake was oblivious. The scent of motor oil, hot metal, and old rubber was her perfume, the clean metallic ring of a wrench tightening on a bolt her symphony, and the rain's frantic rhythm on the tin roof a mere backing track to her unwavering focus. This garage was all she had left of her father, a legacy built of sweat, scarred knuckles, and a near-sacred devotion to machinery. Exposed brick walls were adorned with faded posters of 1970s muscle cars, their colors muted by time. Her father's tools hung in their designated places on the pegboard, each wrench and screwdriver a familiar weight in her hand. This was Nora's kingdom, her sanctuary, a fortress against a world that too often felt alien and unforgiving. The landline rang, its shrill, insistent peal slicing through the storm, and the classic rock bleeding from an old boombox. Nora frowned, wiping her grease-stained hands on a rag slung over her shoulder. It was nearly midnight. Who would call the shop at this hour? Any real roadside emergency would have come through on her cell. "Blake and Son's garage," she answered, her voice a little rough from disuse, but steady. "I need a tow," a man's voice said. It was deep, resonant, and unnervingly calm, the clipped annoyance of someone whose schedule had been forcibly interrupted. Industrial Road, about 2 miles east of Exit 17. A 1967 Maserati Ghibli. Nora blinked. A 67 Ghibli was not the sort of car you found broken down on a desolate industrial stretch in the middle of a hurricane's angry cousin. "All right, sir. What's the issue?" "It's dead." "Completely," he said, impatience tightening his words. "Just get here." "Be there in 20," she said, glancing at the window, where the rain fell in solid sheets. "Stay in your vehicle." The line clicked dead. Nora sighed, killed the radio, grabbed her heavy-duty rain slicker, and headed for her battered but brutally reliable Ford F-350 tow truck, the Beast. The darkness and deluge swallowed her whole. The wipers fought a losing battle, their slap, slap, slap a hypnotic beat. Industrial Road was exactly what it sounded like, a cracked ribbon of asphalt past derelict warehouses and silent factories, the few streetlights casting eerie pools of light on wet pavement. She slowed, scanning the darkness, and then saw it, the Ghibli, a sleek, predatory shadow in the rain, elegant curves gleaming under her headlights. A man stood beside it, seemingly unconcerned by the tempest, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in an immaculately tailored dark suit that shed water as if it were nothing. His dark hair was soaked, plastered to his forehead, yet he paid it no mind. Even from a distance, he radiated an unnerving stillness that suggested danger. Nora pulled the truck to a stop, amber warning lights spinning. As she stepped out, the wind tore at her slicker. The man turned, and she got her first clear look at his face. Sharp angles, a strong jaw dusted with faint stubble, and eyes, dark, deep-set, watchful. Not the relief of a stranded motorist, the cool assessment of a predator. "You're from the garage?" he asked, his voice colder in person. "I am the garage," Nora said evenly. She circled the Ghibli, her headlamp beam skating over flawless paint. "Pop the hood." He complied. Nora admired the pristine V8, a marvel of mechanical artistry. Everything looked perfect. She checked the battery and leads, solid. "Try to turn it over." "I'm not an imbecile," he said flatly. "There's no power." Nora frowned. That made no sense. She rechecked the terminals, secure. Then her light traveled lower along the fuel line, and her heart skipped. A clean, deliberate slice through the braided steel. Gasoline had leaked, but the rain had washed most of it away. This was not a failure. This was sabotage. She lifted her head, the headlamp catching his eyes. She didn't speak, but he read the tension in her posture. "What is it?" he asked, calm now threaded with something lethal. "This wasn't an accident," she said, her voice, barely a whisper against the wind. "Your fuel line's been cut." Silence fell, heavier than the storm. He leaned down to see for himself, then straightened, annoyance gone, replaced by cold awareness. "You're certain?" "I've been doing this my whole life," Nora said. "I'm certain." Headlights cut through the rain down the road, approaching, too slowly. A chill traced her spine. The man unbuttoned his suit jacket with an economical motion that revealed a leather shoulder holster and the matte curve of a pistol. "Get in your truck," he said, voice low. "Now wait." "Do as I say," he said, gaze fixed on the approaching car. Logic told Nora to drive away, to leave this armed man to whatever trouble was stalking him, but her feet rooted. She had pointed out sabotage to someone clearly expecting a fight. Leaving might be as dangerous as staying. The nondescript black sedan stopped 50 feet away. Two men climbed out and began walking forward, silent, more terrifying than any shouted threat. "Nora," the man beside her said, voice low. "My name is Michael Cole. Tonight you saw something you shouldn't have. That makes you part of this, whether you like it or not." The name meant nothing to her, but the finality in his tone made her shiver. He stood his ground, the pistol loose in his hand, expert sure. "Now," he said, locking eyes with her, "get in the truck, get down, and do not think about driving away." The first gunshot tore the night, a deafening crack that seemed to stun even the storm. It broke Nora's paralysis. She scrambled into the cab, hard a wild piston, ducked low across the bench seat, buried her face in her arms, breath in ragged gasps. Another crack, metal punctured, the passenger door took a bullet inches from where her head had been. Cordite's acrid smell drifted on the damp air. Outside, boots sliding on wet asphalt, a guttural grunt of pain, Michael's cold voice barking a command in Italian. She couldn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. Rain drummed. Everything else fell into a ringing hush. Nora waited, nerves stretched taut. The driver's door yanked open. She flinched. Michael stood there, rain streaming down his face, eyes like obsidian. His jacket was torn at the sleeve. A fresh scratch marred his cheekbone. Otherwise, he looked unscathed. "It's done," he said flatly. "Out." Trembling, Nora climbed out. The two men lay motionless on the pavement, rainwater around them darkening. Their sedan sat with its door ajar, silent as a tomb. The sight turned her stomach. Michael didn't look at them. His focus was entirely on her. "I told you," he said. "You saw what you shouldn't have." He holstered his pistol with practiced ease. "My car is useless here. We're taking yours." "Taking it where?" Nora asked, her voice shaking. "Somewhere safe," he said, as if that explained everything. He opened the passenger door of her truck, then looked back, one eyebrow raised, an unspoken command. Terror sparked defiance. "I'm not going anywhere with you. I'm calling the police." Michael let out a short, humorless laugh. "And who do you think cut my fuel line?" "The police. This is a family matter. They won't help you. They'll make you easier to find. Those men saw your face. If you stay here, they will come back to finish the job. Next time I might not be here." His words were cold spikes of truth. She looked from the bodies to his implacable face. He was right. The fear tightened, but resignation hardened beneath it. She had stumbled into a world where the usual rules didn't apply. She had lost her passport to her old life. "All right," she said. The drive back toward the city felt surreal. Nora gripped the wheel until her knuckles went white. Michael rode silent beside her, a presence that filled the cab. He gave quiet directions through a maze of side streets and dark alleys, skirting prying eyes. In the dim dashboard glow, his profile looked carved from shadow and secrets. His cologne, sandalwood and amber, mingled with rain and the faint tang of gunpowder. He directed her into a nondescript brick building in a forgotten industrial sector. A steel roll-up door slid open to reveal a brightly lit, cavernous underground garage lined with pristine luxury and vintage cars. The beast looked painfully out of place. An older man in clean coveralls approached, nodding to Michael, then glancing at Nora with plain curiosity. "Frank, handle the truck," Michael said. "Nothing traceable. And find her dry clothes." Nora was ushered to a shockingly luxurious penthouse hidden atop the warehouse. Exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a rain-glittered skyline, modern furniture, immaculate surfaces. It was cold, impressive and personal. A housekeeper handed her gray sweats and a soft cashmere sweater and gestured toward a bathroom larger than her bedroom. The hot shower washed away some chill, not the shock. In the mirror, a stranger stared back, eyes wide with fear, face bloodless. She dressed. The cashmere felt foreign against skin used to canvas and denim. When she emerged, Michael stood at the window with a glass of amber liquid. He'd changed into a fresh black shirt and looked disturbingly at ease. "Drink," he said, nodding toward a second glass. "You need it." "I need answers," Nora said. "Who are you?" "A businessman," he said, still watching the skyline. "My family's been here for generations. Sometimes competitors get aggressive." "Aggressive?" Nora gave a brittle laugh. "That was an execution. And I'm now in the blast radius." "I didn't drag you into anything," he said, finally facing her, gaze intense. "Your decency did. You could have driven away. You told the truth. In my world, the truth is dangerous." He said her name softly. She had never told him. He'd had her checked out in the drive over. The thought was terrifying and invasive. "You can leave in the morning," he said, setting down his glass. "My men will watch you for a while." He placed a slim, featureless burner on the table. "This dial's one number, mine." She had braced for a fight. His easy consent unnerved her more. The drive back to Blake and Sons at dawn was tense. She knew she was being followed, yet the dark sedans were indistinguishable from traffic. As she turned onto her street, relief curdled into horror. The roll-up door had been pried open, metal skin buckled and bent. The office window was shattered, glass glittering on the damp sidewalk. "No," she whispered, throwing the truck into park and running. Inside was calculated destruction. Tools scattered, a customer's prized Mustang and a vintage pickup with slashed tires and spiderwebbed windshields, her office ransacked, papers strewn, drawers overturned. They had been searching. Fury rose, cold and clarifying. They had desecrated her sanctuary, her father's legacy. She pulled the burner, her fingers steady, and pressed the single button. He answered on the first ring. "What is it?" "They were here," Nora said, voice shaking with anger. "They destroyed my garage." Silence. Then, "Don't touch anything." "I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, a black SUV slid to the curb. Michael stepped out with two men built like refrigerators. He surveyed the wreckage, eyes taking in every detail, a dangerous anger radiating off him. "Not random," he said. "A message. And they were looking for something." "I don't have anything," Nora said, gesturing helplessly. "Are you sure?" Michael asked. "Your father, did he ever mention favors, debts, anything held for someone?" Nora searched her memories. "No. He was a mechanic. He loved cars. That was it." Michael scanned the garage, thinking. Maybe he had something he didn't know he had. He barked an order. His men began a methodical search. With the shop out of commission, Nora found herself back at the penthouse, no longer a reluctant guest, but displaced. Michael's crew started repairs, yet he was adamant she couldn't stay alone at the garage. Living near Michael was a disquieting dance of intimacy and distance. He was both present and absent, hours in his office, days gone without explanation. When he was there, his presence was magnetic. He watched her with a mechanic's curiosity turned inside out, as if she were the engine. One evening, he found her sketching a custom intake manifold on a napkin. "Your father taught you that?" he asked, voice softer. Nora nodded. "He said I had an instinct for how the air wants to move." "He was right," Michael said. He sat across from her at a respectful distance. "Tell me about him." Against her better judgment, she did. His passion for restoring forgotten classics, grease permanently embedded under his nails, the quiet pride in his eyes when a rebuilt engine roared to life. Empathy flickered in Michael's eyes. "My father built an empire on loyalty and fear," he said. "He trusted few. He taught me that the only thing more dangerous than an enemy is a friend you can't trust." The glimpses of the man behind the reputation were confusing. They drew her in, until a late-night meeting with hard-eyed men or a hushed talk about a lost shipment reminded her he was a crime boss. He was also the only person standing between her and whoever had destroyed her home. A week after the break-in, Frank approached her in the underground garage holding an old steel toolbox, her father's first. "We found this in the storage loft," he said. "The bottom's odd." She ran her hands over familiar dents, turned it over, and found an almost invisible seam. Using a thin knife, she pried open a false bottom. Inside, nestled in oil-stained foam, was a small, sleek external hard drive. Nora's breath hitched. Her father was meticulous. He wasn't the type to hide things. Whatever this was, it was important. Michael appeared in the doorway, expression unreadable, eyes fixed on the drive. "It seems," he said softly, "your father was more than a mechanic after all." 1,000 questions tumbled through Nora's mind. Her father, a simple, honest man, had hidden a drive. "What is it?" she whispered. Michael stepped into the light. "He didn't try to take it. I don't know. But I suspect it's why my competitors have taken an interest in your father's legacy." In his office upstairs, Michael slid a laptop across the desk. "Let's see." Nora hesitated. It felt like a violation, but survival outweighed sentiment. She plugged in the drive. A single password-protected folder appeared, labeled with one word, Grace. Nora's breath caught, her mother's name. Her mother had died in a car accident when Nora was a child. Her father rarely spoke of her. Nora tried names, birthdays, addresses, nothing. Michael watched in patient silence, a coiled energy in his stillness. "A password is a memory," he said, something that mattered only to him. Nora forced herself to think beyond grief. A faint memory surfaced, sitting on his lap while he pointed to a faded photograph of a smiling young woman tacked above the pegboard. "She loved stargazing," he had said. "We met at the old observatory. She said I was the only man who saw beauty in a combustion engine like she saw in a dying star. Our star was Vega." Hence trembling, Nora typed VGA, access granted. The folder opened to dozens of encrypted files, a complex series of ledgers, and a single password-locked video file. The ledgers were indecipherable, a code of numbers and letters. Michael leaned in, surprise cracking his composure. "This is meticulous, the work of a forensic accountant." He pointed to a recurring alphanumeric string. "Routing number. Offshore." He turned to the video. "Whatever this is, that's the key." Michael brought in a tech, Ethan Park, to work on the encryption. While Ethan dug, Michael and Nora spent hours puzzling over the ledgers. In that shared purpose, lines blurred. He saw her analytical mind, the way she could deconstruct a complex engine applied seamlessly to coded numbers. She saw his strategy, not a thug, but a CEO of a criminal enterprise. Exhausted one evening, she fell asleep on the office couch, head on a stack of printouts. She awoke under a cashmere blanket. Michael sat in the chair opposite, a glass of whiskey untouched. The hard lines of his face softened. "You should be in a bed," he said quietly. "I was dreaming about carburetors," she murmured. A rare, small smile touched his mouth. "I'm sure." He hesitated. "My father was killed when I was 19. Not by a rival, by his consigliere, a man I called uncle. My first lesson, trust is a blade. It protects or guts, depending on the hand." "Why tell me this?" Nora asked. His dark eyes held hers, a raw vulnerability there she hadn't seen. "Because I don't know whose hand is holding the blade anymore. And because you, who want nothing from me, now hold the sharpest one." 2 days later, Ethan found a back door. Not the password, but a fragment of code embedded in the video, GPS coordinates. Michael pulled them up on a satellite map. The pin landed upstate, at the abandoned Pine Ridge Observatory, the place from her father's story. "He didn't just leave a password," Nora breathed. "He left a map." "It's a test of trust," Michael said. "The password was a memory only I would know. The location is a place only I would understand. And now it belongs to us," Michael said, pulling her back to the dangerous present. "If we go, we're exposed. They'll be waiting." "We have to go," Nora said. "This is my family." Michael studied her face, then nodded. "My way." His plan was controlled paranoia, a nondescript, reinforced sedan, 2 support cars on staggered routes, a pre-dawn departure. In the garage, he handed her a small pistol and spent an hour teaching her to handle it, his large, steady hands guiding hers. "You probably won't need it," he said. "If it comes to it, you point, you shoot, you do not hesitate." As they left the city for the dark, winding roads of the Hudson Valley, silence settled. "Are you scared?" Michael asked. "Yes," Nora said. "But not of them, not exactly. I'm scared of what I'll learn about my father." "He was the man who raised you," Michael said. "He hid that drive to protect a secret he thought worth protecting. The truth may change what you think he was protecting, not who he was to you." Pine Ridge Observatory loomed in ruin on a windswept hill. They left the car at the bottom and approached on foot. Michael's men melted into the trees. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. Inside, debris littered the floor. The great telescope pointed accusingly at the sky. "What are we looking for?" Michael asked, voice echoing. "A memory," Nora said, scanning. She walked a slow circle, hand along the cold railing, and looked up. The dome's paint was peeling, but a faint scatter of phosphorescent stars lingered. Among them, a dim outline, Vega's constellation Lyra. At the base of the wall beneath it, a brick sat loose. It felt too easy, yet absolutely right. She pried it loose with a tire iron one of Michael's men handed her. Behind it, in a dust-filled cavity, sat a small metal lockbox with a 5-digit combination. "Another test," Michael murmured. Nora's mind raced. Grace. Vega. What else was theirs alone? She thought of his favorite build with her dad, the one he called the most honest engine ever made, a small-block Chevy V8. The firing order her father made her recite as a girl, 1843657. Too many digits. She knelt, squinting into the cavity, and saw, scratched faintly on the inner masonry, a single numeral, 1. She spun the wheels. 1-8-4-3-6. Nothing. 1-6-5-7-2. Nothing. Her frustration mounted. She exhaled and pivoted. Her mother's death had defined their lives. The date, 10-23. 5 digits. She added the hour. Her father had told her once, late at night, when grief softened him. 11 p.m. October 23rd, 11. She turned the dials. Click. The lock sprang open. Nora lifted the lid. On yellowed velvet lay a leather-bound journal, an ornate silver key, and a thick envelope. The envelope held photographs. Her father younger, smiling, standing with another man whose hard jawline and dark eyes were unmistakable. Not Michael, his father, Anthony Cole, the city's former underworld king. In several photos, a third man appeared, handsome with a cruel smile, Marcus Fallon. Nora opened the journal. The first page was a letter in her father's neat script. "My dearest Nora, if you are reading this, I am gone. I tried to bury a past that would one day find you. For that I am sorry. I was not only a mechanic. I kept records for a man I called brother, Anthony Cole. He was dangerous but had a code. He was betrayed and murdered, not by enemies, but by his partner, Marcus Fallon. Anthony entrusted me with evidence, ledgers, proof of Fallon's treason, and this key. I promised to keep them safe and to put them in Anthony's son's hands when he was ready for the truth." Nora stared at the key. It wasn't for a door. The head was a concealed USB. Michael's voice was a low, venomous thread. "Fallon," he read over her shoulder. "I was told my father died at the hands of a West Side crew. A lie, from Fallon himself, who then swore loyalty to me. The betrayal staggered. The blade of trust, as Michael had said. The key," he said tightly. "It's the password." They rushed back down the hill. In the car, Nora connected the hard drive and the key. The video demanded a password. The USB satisfied it. The file opened, grainy time-stamped footage from 20 years ago, inside a warehouse office. Her father, anxious, Anthony Cole, and Marcus Fallon, who poured a drink, then shot Anthony in the head when his back turned. Nora felt nausea rise. Her father had lived with that secret to keep her safe. Michael watched, face stone. Only the muscle ticking in his jaw betrayed anything. When the video ended, he closed the laptop with a quiet click. "Now we know," Nora whispered. "Knowing isn't enough," Michael said, calm and lethal. "Now we get justice. Fallon has a daughter, Isabel. We're going to pay them a visit." The declaration chilled her. This was war, and he had just made her the keeper of its crown jewel. The war began as quiet, deliberate moves, deadly chess in the city's shadows. Armed with the truth, Michael was transformed, still precise, now personally driven. At the heart of it stood Nora, no longer just a mechanic but the unlikely catalyst of a reckoning. She didn't want this. Part of her clung to grease and the simple satisfaction of a purring engine. But where could she go? Fallon knew her name. The ledgers and video were her father's legacy, and her death sentence if she were left unprotected. "You said Fallon has a daughter," Nora said as they drove back. "What does she have to do with this?" "In our world, you don't only kill a man," Michael said. "You dismantle his legacy. Fallon adores Isabel. We won't harm her. We'll use her to draw him into the open." The plan centered on a Manhattan charity gala where men like Michael and Fallon played philanthropist. Isabel was on the organizing committee. Michael would be her escort. Nora would be at his side. "Me? At a gala?" Nora laughed without humor. "I own 2 pairs of jeans and a dozen stained t-shirts. You'll be the most striking woman in the room," Michael said as a statement. "I'll see to it." A team of stylists descended. They tutored at her calloused hands and then admired her athletic frame. Dresses of silk and satin, jewels like cold fire, heels that felt like elegant torture. In the mirror stood a stranger in an emerald gown that made her hazel eyes burn. Her hair, usually bound in a utilitarian tie, fell in soft waves, the grease under her nails gone. She was beautiful and felt like an imposter, a doll ready for a dangerous game. Michael appeared in a tuxedo that made him look every inch the power he wielded. For a heartbeat, awe flickered across his face. "Emerald," he said, voice rough. "It matches the ghibli." He fastened a delicate diamond necklace around her throat. "My mother's. She would have wanted you to wear it." His fingers brushed her skin. The world narrowed. The gala glittered. Smiles that never reached eyes. Whispered deals. Champagne. Heads turned as they entered. Michael, rightful heir. Nora, a mystery at his side. They found Marcus Fallon near the grand staircase. He was older, gray at the temples, the same cold, calculating eyes from the photographs. Isabel introduced herself. Charming, warm, oblivious to the nest of vipers. "Michael," Fallon said smoothly. "A pleasure. And your guest?" His gaze slid to Nora, something unreadable flickering there. "Nora Blake," Michael said, hand at the small of her back. "A close personal friend." The evening became a master class in pressure. Michael was relaxed and attentive to Isabel. Fallon watched, tension tightening the veneer. Nora smiled politely while the truth ticked like a bomb in her head. She was the symbol of the secret Michael held. The confrontation came on a secluded garden terrace. Michael had maneuvered Fallon outside. "She looks familiar," Fallon said, the silk gone from his tone. "Blake. I knew a mechanic by that name. He was a good man," Michael said coolly. "Loyal. He kept something for me, something my father left behind." Fallon's face paled. The mask shattered. "I don't know what you're talking about." Michael's smile was a predator's. "The video is quite clear. My father's office. His favorite scotch. A very personal betrayal." Panic flashed in Fallon's eyes. "You have nothing." "I have everything," Michael said. "And I will take everything from you. Your business, your reputation, your life. Exactly as you took my father's. But first you will confess to the other heads." Fallon lunged at Nora. He locked a small pistol against her temple. "Drop your weapon, or she dies." Michael's men, positioned discreetly, raised guns. Michael held a hand up, his own weapons holstered, eyes like ice on Fallon. "He won't shoot," Michael said, voice steady for Nora alone. "Look at his hand, shaking. He shoots in the back. He doesn't have the stomach for this." It was a gamble. Nora felt the tremor in Fallon's grip. Desperation, not resolve. She slammed her stiletto heel onto his instep. He roared, grip loosening. She drove her head back into his nose, twisted, and dropped clear. 2 shots cracked in quick succession from Michael. Fallon toppled with a neat hole in his forehead. The orchestra's distant swell floated through the stillness. Michael was at Nora's side in an instant, hands firm at her shoulders, eyes blazing. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice rough. She shook her head. He pulled her close. His heartbeat thudded against her cheek. "You were magnificent," he murmured, and something fundamental shifted. The Fallon Empire fell swiftly. With the video as leverage and Marcus dead, Michael dismantled the rival operation. The other heads, shown proof of decades-long treachery, fell in line. A new, undisputed king took his place, crowned by truth and forged by revenge. Victory brought costs. The underworld bucked. The vacuum spawned smaller conflicts. Violence didn't end, it migrated. Nora returned to the garage. Michael's crew had repaired it better than new, with upgraded equipment and reinforced security. The familiar sense soothed her, yet she was changed. Whispers followed. People looked with a mix of fear, respect, and awe. Michael appeared late at night, sometimes just to watch her work. Tension eased in the quiet, orderly space. They didn't talk about business. With her, he was simply Michael. Coffee, classic cars, the pretense of ordinary life. The pretense never lasted long. A car bomb under her restored Bel Air ended the illusion. Message received. She was a target, his perceived weakness. Michael arrived grim. "This can't continue," he said. "As long as you are here, you are a target. Apart, I can't guarantee your safety." "What's the solution?" Nora asked, heart aching. "Do I disappear?" "No," he said, taking her grease-stained hands. "You come with me, not someone I protect from shadows, someone who stands beside me. I know what this place means to you. It's your father's legacy. But our father's legacies are intertwined now. The most dangerous place for you is away from me." It was the choice she had avoided, cling to a ghost or step fully into the world she now inhabited. Be the mechanic, or the woman beside the king. She looked at him, the man who was both monster and protector, who had shown her a world of darkness and, in his way, what it means to fight for something. She thought of her father, who had run to protect her. She was not her father. She could not run. "Okay, Michael," she said. "I'll come." By day, she still worked in the garage, her anchor. Frank, now her steadfast right hand, was a quiet guardian in coveralls. By night, she lived in the penthouse, strategy, power, permanent alert. She learned the faces of captains, the names of enemies. Her sharp mind, once for diagnosing engines, now spotted gaps in security, inconsistencies in reports. She wasn't a gangster. She became a queen in a dark court. Their relationship wasn't gentle domesticity. It was forged in crisis, tempered by danger. Peace came in stolen interludes. In his arms, she found a strange kind of safety. In her presence, he found a measure of peace, an echo of honor he thought lost. Months later, on the balcony with the city like a carpet of scattered stars, Michael asked, "Do you ever regret it? Answering that call?" Nora breathed in the cool night. She thought of fear, blood, and the loss of innocence. She thought of truth, her strength, and the complicated man beside her whom she had, against all odds, come to love. "No," she said, cupping his jaw. "I don't regret it." He lowered his head. The kiss they shared was not gentle. It was fierce and full of unspoken vows. It sealed their pact, a testament to the strange, violent fate that brought a mechanic and a crime boss together on a rainy night. Her old life was gone, replaced by something more dangerous and more profound. She had found her place, not only among gears and oil, but at the heart of the storm. And as long as she stood with him, she knew she would never be invisible again. The world would watch, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid to be seen. If you enjoyed the story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this.